Barley here, and today I'm going to quickly show you how I went from this to this. With just one plane and pilot, I had to, work to fill the work order as much as possible so that I could keep her flying as much as possible, keep the plane flying as much as possible. You don't make any money when the plane sits on the ground. But she can only fly, every pilot can only fly a 14-hour duty cycle. So anything over 14 hours, you get hit with a fine, and then they stop at that next airport anyway. So to deal with that, I hired a second pilot and did the same thing to him. Built up work orders that were between 11 and a half and 13 hours, so 12 hours on average. So 12 hours, 2 pilots, 24 hours, right? That should keep so 2 pilots should keep a plane flying pretty much all the time. Just have to keep an eye on the 100-hour time, because it'll only take 4 days, maybe 4.5, before you burn all 100 hours. And if it's still in the middle of a trip and it hits that 100-hour time, it's going to be grounded at the next airport it lands at, and some of your cargo or passengers may not get where they had intended to go. It will not make them happy, and if you're flying urgent stuff or has low time on it, you might lose. You're going to lose out because you're going to get hit with the penalty for not making it on time. So, got to keep an eye on that. So anyway, with all that in mind, 2 pilots, 1 plane, just flogging that pony. Everything was going great until it wasn't. So in the very first work order, the one that I did way late at night in the last episode for Miss Wozniak, before it transferred to our second pilot, I used a technique called tankering, where I bought more fuel from cheaper FBOs, so more fuel than I needed for that trip when it was cheap. And then when I was at a FBO that was more expensive, I'd buy just enough fuel to make it to the next one. I do this a lot to save money, and normally it works out fine. When you're tankering, though, you have to be careful to make sure you won't end up overweight at the next stop, because you're going to go in there with more fuel than you need. And if you originally did all your weights and calculations, and this is one problem, one of the methods I use is I go through and I fill up every leg, do all my legs, and I do it with the least amount of fuel needed at each stop. Then I go back and do my tankering where necessary. And you have to be real careful, because when you do that, your original weights and calculations were done with minimum fuel. And now you're going to be bringing a plane in that has more fuel than the little leg card thinks you're going to have. Well, it won't notice that while you're building the work order. No, it'll notice it when the plane is in flight, it lands at the new airport, it sticks all the cargo on there and goes, you're overweight. Now, it'll do one of 2 things. If the airport has an FBO, it'll dump the fuel. So congratulations, all that stuff you tankered, you just, dumped on an FBO. So they'll come and sump it out of the aircraft to get you back down to weight. If there is no FBO, which is what happened here and why my work order went red, is they had no way to dump fuel and we were overweight. So I got to go fix the mess. And I didn't even realize that this had happened till the next day. Basically, I had set them off to go fly. It was really early in the morning. So I just went to bed. Well, the next day, after work, came over, pulled up OnAir to see that she had only made one leg of a flight that was supposed to be like 3 hours on her or something like that, and then a full 14 for the next pilot. And I'm like, okay, so that's it. And reading the description, it says, no FBO at this airport to dump fuel. And after figuring out what happened, I dumped some cargo at KCXE, used the money that I had already made with the legs that I flew, and I guess her one leg, to lease a King Air, because we had enough, and we want to move to multi-engines as fast as possible. They just carry more and faster. Took the check ride to fly multi-engine turboprops. Then went on a multi-leg trip where every single airport had crosswinds that were just under the maximum crosswind component for the King Air.
Wow. That crosswind is crazy. I don't think I'm going to use the third notch of flaps.
0, 0 and 10 knots.
We're on glide slope. We just have to get back over to the runway.
I mean, we were seeing crosswind components of between 18, 19 knots.
Oh, we're a little fast, too.
I mean, one airport had 23 knots.
That's because we don't have all the flaps in that we're used to. I don't want to be any slow. I want to land faster with this kind of winds going on.
But enough to where the crosswind components were like 18, 19, 20 knots.
Grab in until we have to let it go.
So yeah, I dumped the cargo out of the Cessna 208, used the money, leased the King Air, took the check ride, and went on the trip.
Yes, that's fine. And straighten up.
At all three airports, the crosswinds were ridiculous.
Landing time logged.
Flaps up. Landing lights are off. Run over the taxi light.
Those will be in the OnAir Flights playlist. You may fully partake in my misery. Once all that was done, I hired 2 more pilots to keep the new King Air busy. You know, we leased the plane. Now we need to keep it in the air as close to 24/7 as we can. So 2 more pilots. Dropped more work orders on their heads while keeping the 208 running as much as possible. And once I had enough money, I leased yet another King Air. That's King Air number 2. And tried to get 2 more pilots, but I was limited to just 1 because I don't have a high enough level to get that many pilots. What that meant is I was able to hire 1, and that was it. So, you know, I might have to jump in and help to keep the planes flying, or there's going to be a plane that isn't always flying until I level again. And then, so the way it works is the number of pilots you can have is limited by your level and reputation. There's some math involved there. It's roughly 2 pilots per level plus some multiplier or something based on your reputation. So anyway, I only had enough pilots to keep 2 planes busy plus 1 extra pilot. So then I leveled again, and I got 2 more pilots. So now I had enough money to lease King Air number 3. But again, I'm still 1 pilot short because I could get 2 pilots, but I needed 1 more to keep the second King Air busy. So now there's just 1 pilot for this King Air, and then it means that I might have to jump in to stretch things out anyway. So 1 full set of work orders with 4 planes now. That's the 3 King Airs plus a 208 and 7 pilots, including me. And I've managed to put over $500,000 in the bank, and I need to figure out what I want to do with it. And I'm kind of going back and forth here because my original plan, pull up the skill tree, for those 2 points was to finish out all the cargo stuff, right? So that I could get all the highest paying cargo and passenger types. That was my plan for those 2 points. With $500,000 already, and knowing there might be another 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 in the bank tomorrow, yeah, you know, what am I going to do? Do I go ahead and do that and then spend the money on maybe an ATR or another King Air or whatever? Not 100%, but I think I'm going to stick with my plan just to see how it works and spend the 2 points on the last cargo type. So yeah, here you go. Level 7, 2 points, go. So those points are spent. Where is the company now? So if you look at the dashboard, we've got a good chunk of change sitting in the bank. Look at the live operations map. We're keeping our 4 planes busy. And then going forward, I think I want to rent a 208, and the reason I want to rent and not lease is because I don't plan on keeping 2 208s, and 1 is fine. At least at this time, I don't need another 208. So I'm just going to rent 1 long enough to do a rescue mission. maybe some supply runs, maybe do a base camp thing somewhere, and a sightseeing tour. So kind of that'll give me a chance in the next couple episodes to show you guys the other types of things. You know, when you go to the logistics screen, the job screen, at the top you can kind of see the different types. And I've done sightseeing. I've done the base camp stuff before, but that's not really a mission type. Pick up base camp supplies, you take it somewhere and build a base camp. But anyway, I've done the sightseeing, but I haven't done the rescue mission yet. So I want to do that. And then in activities, you can also do races and things like that. And I haven't messed with that either. So that's some stuff that we'll get to experience together. So yeah, rent a 208 to do some cool stuff. I'm going to hire at least one more pilot because I need to make sure that the 4 planes I have all have 2 pilots each. And I may get another plane. I may get an ATR. You know, depends on how much money I end up with in the morning. And I may rent something fast to do a race. Depending on where we are with leveling, money, pilots. Yeah. It won't be long, and we're going to be getting into FBOs. I don't mean one FBO. We'll build at least 3 and probably 4 or 5 in the coming episodes. I may just save up money and do them all in one episode, take my time and figure out where I want them, and then just plant them all at once and then go back and upgrade them as necessary. Or I may just do 3 so I can fully upgrade them. Haven't thought that through. That's why it's what's coming up. Now, as I continue building the company, I'm going to do my updates more like this video, unless something major happens. I mean, like that screw up with the tankering. If there was probably enough content, I could have done a whole episode on just fixing that. But I had all this other stuff that had happened or was going to happen, and I just wanted to combine everything. And between that and the flight videos, I thought you guys would have enough of a chance to see. I mean, by the end of that third crosswind flight video, flight landing, I think you can tell in my voice, I'm beat. That's some tough line. But anyway, that's after a long day at work. Let's see. I figured you guys have probably seen all you need to on the work orders. There's not a whole lot more there. And if there's something that you don't quite get or you struggled with when you're playing, put it in the comments and then I'll do a video on it. If there's just some aspect of OnAir that you really want me to dive into, let me know and we'll do a video on it. So most of I think at least the next 1 or 2 are probably going to be high cap. Like there'll be videos to recap high points of what's going on, to see how the company's expanding and how I'm building it out, and put the full flights into the OnAir flights playlist. It's going to get to a point where once you've seen all the FBOs and you've seen the races and stuff like that, I'm probably just going to put together, or because of jobs, put together a neat trip. Maybe it's a long cruise over a cool place or landing at a cool airport, and that's happened. OnAir made me do the Aspen landing once, and I wasn't prepared for that. I mean, I prepped the approach and everything, and when I ran it, it was an eye-opener. So stuff like that, since I record everything, it may be that these 2 playlists meld into each other just a bit, and that's fine. But for now, I'm going to keep the OnAir and the flight stuff a little separate, unless everybody tells me quit doing that. So you let me know. For now, the company's doing great. We've got all the cash we can eat. Now it's making decisions and trying to build the company up to massive, because our goals are going to be to get on the leaderboards. I haven't shown you that yet. But here are, for our server, the leaderboards for small people who started as small company. The people who start as Airline get a separate set of leaderboards because it's easier. We're on hard mode. And you can see we've only been in this world for 4 days, I think. 4.5, and we're making progress. Eventually we're going to pay off all our loans. It'll probably be after we get our initial set of FBOs, because I may need to take out loans to do that at a decent pace. FBOs are expensive, especially with workshops and all that. But we're gonna work on getting the loans paid off and by literally keeping these planes going 24/7 and having a maintenance shop that does the 100-hour inspections faster, because we'll have more mechanics than we need to do those faster, we should get a good return on assets. That's part of these ratios here. When we get rid of our loans, that'll take care of the loan to value ratios. And then things like pilot hours. I like to fly, so I don't think there's going to be any problem with me getting under one of those lists. I'm going to work to get this great airline, Barley's Regional Air Transport, onto the leaderboards and see how long does that take from scratch to initial listing, and then set some goals and see how we get there. So I hope you'll enjoy the ride with me, and thank you for watching the video. If you like what I'm doing here, please, 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 semi-begging, jump on the like and subscribe buttons. That does two things. It helps promote these so that other people see them. The Google algorithm. It lets me know which videos you like more, so I can make more content like that and less of the ones that y'all don't like a whole bunch. And feel free to criticize in the comments. Let me know what you don't like. I'm learning how to put OnAir and Microsoft Flight Simulator and all my flight planning tools together into something that I hope is informative and hopefully entertaining too. So that's it for tonight. Barley out.